now is Tennessee Senator Marsha Blackburn. On this and other things, Senator, thank you very much for coming in. I have to play a soundbite first, Senator. It doesn't have directly to do with the COVID bill, but indirectly I think it does. This is President Biden today denouncing the Americans in Texas and Mississippi who want to lift the COVID restrictions and are very happy that their governors are doing so. Let me play the tape and get your reaction. Go ahead.
I think it's a big mistake. Look, I hope everybody's realized by now, these masks make a difference. And the last thing we need is the Neanderthal thinking that in the meantime, everything's fine, take off your mask, forget it. It still matters.
So, Senator, the people in Texas and Mississippi are Neanderthals for wanting an end to the lockdowns. What is your reaction?
Oh, Neanderthals, hunter-gatherers, they provide for their family. That's something I've been called in times past. David, let me tell you something. People are smart. People know how to handle COVID. They have learned a lot over the past year. They want to keep themselves and their families safe. They want to get back to work. They want to get children back in school. And you have states like Texas and Tennessee and Mississippi that are doing this. And mask mandates in different counties are beginning to go away. And people are going to be very careful. And if these governors want to make these decisions, turn it over to these mayors, the government closest to the people is the one that should be making these decisions.
Well, and I've been talking to some folks in Texas that I know. They're not all hardcore conservatives either. And they're saying, look, the Democrats have been using the pandemic to consolidate their power. And now they're afraid they're going to lose some of that power that they've consolidated using the pandemic. Does that have something to do with all this?
I think it absolutely has something to do with this, because what you've seen is the federal government step in heavy hand and execute power over even how you can go to church, how you can go to a restaurant, making decisions, governors making decisions. You could have the liquor store and the grocery store open, but you couldn't go to the local library, you couldn't go to church. I mean, these are decisions that really didn't make a lot of sense to individuals, whether they were a libertarian or a Green Party member or a Democrat or a Republican or an independent. They would say, hey, wait a minute, there's a lack of consistency here. And we have heard it for a year now, and people are ready to begin living their life. They're so grateful for Operation Warp Speed, the leadership that the Trump administration brought to Operation Warp Speed, proving that when you get government out of the way, that you can get a vaccine to market within a year.
Well, assuming you have the right administration in power to give that power to the private sector. But that brings me to the COVID bill. You have a $2 trillion bill here, much of which you Republicans say it's over 90% of which won't kick in until after the pandemic is over. That leads me to ask, to what extent does this $2 trillion have more to do with progressive spending plans than it does with the pandemic?
It's all about progressive spending plans. And when you look at the fact that there is still $1 trillion, $1 trillion in the pipeline that hasn't been touched, then what you need to do is look at the money that is there that hasn't been spent. Reposition those funds. Look, people that have been adversely impacted, lost their job, they still are going to need these benefits. Relief should be targeted to businesses that cannot open, to individuals that have lost their job. And these communities are coming around individuals. Relief should be targeted, timely, temporary. But to be spending money for art museums, finally Pelosi's subway had to be pulled out of the bill, but this is the Biden bailout.
Well, and
what they are trying to do is pre-fund their wish list for the Green New Deal with federal government takeover of so many things that are currently handled by the state and local
it's beginning
governments.
to come out, though, Senator. I mean, I got this letter from Frank Pallone, who, of course, is a member of Congress. He's running for Congress. He said, put simply, this, the COVID bill, is the most ambitious economic recovery bill since the New Deal. Harkening back to FDR and the New Deal, I mean, this is really about taking the role of government in our lives to a whole new level, right?
That's exactly right. And this is what they're trying to do, is pre-fund their liberal agenda. And here's the thing, David, they know already that they're getting ready to lose the House and the Senate by the time we get to the 2022 elections. And they know that they better be moving fast and breaking a lot of things if they're going to get their way. And they're doing it on so many fronts. And the way to preload their liberal leftist expansion is to pass this bill where only 9%, get it, 9% of the bill goes to anything to do with COVID. And as you said, the bulk of the money would be spent 5 years to 10 years from now.
Well, certainly, even if it's 1 year from now, it'll be after the pandemic. I'm sorry to break in, but we have to leave it at that. Bottom line is this is a completely partisan bill. I don't think there's going to be one Republican voting for it. Senator Marsha Blackburn, good to see you again. Thank you very much for coming in. Appreciate it.